Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing today? Hopefully, you are having a drama-free day. So, today I have some new stories for you, and the first one is about OP's daughter's stepmother, who was so jealous of OP's daughter that she decided to steal. Well, it didn't end up well. Listen to the story to find out why, and of course, to find out what I think about this situation. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My 16-year-old daughter is very good with saving money and being frugal. Due to the law, she had to have a joint bank account with one of her parents, and I'm the one on the account. Her father isn't. She saved $16K from working odd jobs and holiday money, wanting to use it for adult life. My daughter's stepmother didn't like this. She's always thought my daughter was spoiled and that her father's side deserved more money. She impersonated me to the bank and stole all of it. She committed several crimes doing this. Due to my daughter's age and how the account is set up, this was technically a crime against me, not my daughter. Legally speaking, she stole the money from me, and I had to be the one to file a police report and take all legal action. Thankfully, justice prevailed. We won, and my daughter has gotten her money back. She even had to pay my legal fees. The wife was furious at all of this. She was even arrested briefly during this, in front of the whole neighborhood. She apparently rages non-stop about how selfish my daughter is and how sick she is of me having so much ability to interfere in her father's household. She ended up filing for divorce, and they're now splitting up, which my daughter is happy about because she didn't like her. My ex is now constantly calling and messaging me to blame me for his divorce and custody woes with this woman, and all sorts of accusations related to being controlling. Am I the a-hole? Well, I really find this a little bit hilarious. So, she stole from OP's daughter, and now OP's ex is blaming OP for his failed marriage. Yeah, some people are really strange. Well, if I was OP, I'd contact an attorney, once again, and have them send a sharply worded letter warning against the use of harassment, and the need to review those custody arrangements under the circumstances, unless he desists in all these noxious behaviors. Let's see if our community agrees with me. Bria Khalifa says, not the a-hole. She stole money a 16-year-old saved up, and her reasoning was she was spoiled. She committed a crime and got what was coming to her. Your ex was trying to pin someone else to blame, but should have went off on his ex-wife for stealing all your daughter's money. 3 Fluffy says, absolutely not the a-hole. Your ex is embarrassed by his wife's actions and needs someone to blame. Thank you for standing up for yourself and your daughter. $16,000 is a lot of money. The wife deserved to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Her entitlement is literally criminal. Keep an eye and ear open for ex or the wife taking out their anger on your daughter, though. ATF8888 says, not the a-hole. This almost seems fake from how ridiculous it is. Maybe your ex should see from his daughter's happiness after they split that his marriage was a huge mistake. This woman robbed you, a literal crime, and disrespected your daughter, so you had every right to take legal action. The situation is horrible. This happened a week ago, and I'm still so mad. This is my 28 female and my husband, 34 male, second wedding anniversary. Given the current circumstances, we decided to stay at home and celebrate. He didn't seem that much excited as he never really cared about this type of stuff and would always say that I was paying too much attention to ridiculous things and doing it just for show and to post on social media to spite others, which is completely not true at all. This is my wedding anniversary. If I don't get to celebrate it, then who does? It matters big time. I told him that I'd take care of everything, dinner, candles. I'd pay for it all. I obviously didn't bring up or mentioned him having to buy me a gift, cause I thought he'd do it without being reminded. That's the least he could do, I guess. September 18th came. I got home by 6 p.m. and started preparing dinner. I called my husband at 7:30 to see where he was at, but he didn't respond. I called again after 30 minutes, about 10 times, and as I was about to dial for the 16th time, I was confused to find his cell phone turned off. Yeah, he deliberately turned it off as a way to tell me that he was busy. Other than I got nothing, not a single text. I waited and waited. I started getting really pissed. I started thinking about changing my dress and wear my pajamas as it was really getting late. At 10:30ish, he came home. I stood by the door and asked where he was and why he's turned his cell phone off. He told me that his best friend had a huge fight with his girlfriend, and his friend called him and he was literally crying and wanted to talk. And since all the other guys were too busy to go be with him, He decided to go comfort him during this difficult time. I was stunned. I told him he was wrong to think that this was okay and that his friend was more important than me. He told me to not get started with this BS, talked about how his friends, the group, has this unbreakable bond that they agreed to have no matter what, and be supportive and available for each other whenever one of them needed support. He told me to not try and separate him from them because they were important, and said that we could celebrate next Friday. I told him no, I got married on September 18th, not on the 25th. Told him he ruined this for me and that I will not forgive him for disrespecting me like that. We had a huge argument since he insisted on how shallow I was to think that way, and he ended up sleeping on the couch for days. This was a huge issue. He didn't forget. He knew which day it was, but chose to spend it with his sobbing friend instead. He was nothing like this before marriage. Well, guys, apparently he has an unbreakable bond with his buddy, but not with OP, the woman he made actual vows to. Little bit strange, isn't it? I think he was already being awful to OP for wanting to celebrate. Who tells their wife they only want to celebrate an anniversary for spite? There's no reason he couldn't have at least texted OP to tell her he'd be late, and no reason he couldn't have still comforted his friend and been home at a reasonable time to celebrate with OP. So I think there's no excuse in this situation. I would be really upset if I was OP. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Mogeti says, not the a-hole. So his friends have an unbreakable bond. I guess he doesn't think his marriage is an unbreakable bond. And he doesn't even have the common courtesy to call and tell you he isn't coming home. I say it's even money that his friend wasn't actually crying, and he stayed away out of spite and to make a power play. I am the glue says, not the a-hole. I consider this a red flag. I would be very concerned that he is not feeling the marriage anymore. Is he a good man all around, or is he always inconsiderate? I'm sorry that you weren't allowed to celebrate your wedding anniversary. You know that old saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. This is one of those moments. Any Name Today says, your husband is a huge a-hole. You are not the a-hole. Even if this was a life or death situation, the bare minimum he owed you was to call and let you know. He would still have been an a-hole, but slightly less. He demonstrated no compassion for his wife, who he swore vows to. He showed neither concern for your feelings nor regret for his actions. Me and my partner are getting married. Our friend's wife, Tiffany, offered her catering services. Our first conversation, we said we needed at least 2 vegan dishes, and all veggies needed to be cooked with olive oil instead of butter. She asked if we were going vegan. I said no, my boss is Hindu, and she won't be eating beef, but I want to give her a meatless option. And my cousin and her fiancé are vegan. She told me she would send me a sample menu the following week. Everything had meat, dairy, or eggs. I reminded her, and she just goes, sorry, but it would make me look bad making something inedible for your wedding for possible future clients attending. So I told her thank you, but we'll be going somewhere else. Her husband called cussing us out, saying how we're such a-holes. So I texted her and asked her what the heck was his problem. We asked for vegan food. She couldn't provide it. What did she expect us to do? She proceeds to try and guilt us that she really needed this job financially. I said, so you'll be making the vegan dishes for my boss and cousin? She then texts back saying, I'm not going to make special dishes for a liberal and a ducking racial slur in order to keep your business. I had to give my car keys and phone to my partner because I had every intention of going over to her house and beating her butt. My partner told me let it go, and I did. I didn't say anything else. My future mother-in-law asked me to help her with her phone. She kept getting notifications for messages, but as soon as she would look, they weren't there. So I look in the folder where people who aren't her friends are trying to reach her. It is Tiffany's mother and a few friends, asking if she could talk to me to reconsider, some calling me a B. I called my mama and asked her to check hers too, and sure enough, same thing. I told my mother-in-law what happened, and she wanted to cuss everyone who messaged her out. I told her to leave it. I would handle it. I posted on Facebook and attached the screenshots of Tiffany's messages as well as the ones from her mom and friends. Her small business is sitting at a 1.2-star rating from a 5-star. Some of her clients had pulled their orders and asked for their deposits back. She begged me to take my post down. This was ruining her life and could make her shut down her business, but I told her no. I may be in my own seat of anger, but I felt what she said was wrong. I think she was deliberately not making those dishes with the intentions of serving a Hindi guest. But am I taking it too far? Am I the a-hole for ruining her business, or is it deserved? Well, I think she ruined her life herself, not OP. And I would say well done, OP, for letting people know who they are ordering from and paying money to. People have a right to know and to make their own choice to do business with such a person or not. What do you guys think? And of course, let's see what the community has to say about this. Sleep Dangerous 1074 says, not the a-hole. Does she not understand that if you're providing a catering service, the bare minimum expected is that you cater to dietary restrictions? She seems like the kind of person who would serve prawns to someone with a shellfish allergy and try to justify it with a dumb excuse like, I'd already bought them, I couldn't just throw them out. Kaya Detchen says, not the a-hole. Her words are losing her business. People need to know what kind of person they're giving their money to. Also, if you can't make tasty vegan food, that's because you're a bad cook or chef. Federal Objective 392 says, not the a-hole. As a business, she refused, not couldn't, to provide you the service you needed. She then harassed you and got other people to harass your family into forcing you to pay for substandard and outright rude business. No, absolutely not. Well done for standing your ground. My husband and I have 3 biological children together. He adopted my child from a prior relationship, and I am a stepmother to his adult child. My husband was divorced from his stepdaughter's mom. She was 8 when my husband and I became serious, and my son was still a baby. Not long after my stepdaughter's mom died. My husband and I had talked about marrying before she died, and we delayed it for a couple of years to allow my stepdaughter time to grieve and adjust to the changes in her life. This was the big help of therapy, of course. We knew a child who lost someone so close would need extra help. Now my stepdaughter is 20, my son is 12, and our children together are 7, 6, and 4. So what happened here is my stepdaughter and her boyfriend recently moved into a house together. She asked for help setting up their dining room, and we all went over to help her. Her house was covered in photos. The landing had them, living room, kitchen, etc. There was not a single photo of her siblings in the house, or me, but it was not seeing one of the kids that led to this. She had her parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, her cousins and friends, but there was no sign of the kids anywhere. All of the photos with her dad were older ones, from before we met. My 12-year-old, 7 and 6-year-olds noticed because they were excited to look around the house. I couldn't help but notice because her boyfriend had so many of his siblings, and because there were some, what felt like deliberate choices, to make sure she used photos that didn't contain her siblings, including extended family photos from years ago with my husband's side that were taken before her dad and I met. And we know she has photos with her siblings. I always knew she wasn't super crazy about her siblings. I always hoped as she got older, she would feel love for them. But it feels like she doesn't think of them as family or as special enough to be included. The 3 kids who noticed were hurt. My husband tried to assure them it was likely an oversight on her part, and he called her the next day to ask. She said she had only wanted photos with people she considered family, and she didn't consider us family. We were all invited to her housewarming party, but the kids did not want to go. My husband and in-laws were shocked and said they had to go, of course. I argued that they didn't, and I told them I would stay home with them. They argued back to me that the kids needed to be there. I said they did not need to be there, and I wouldn't force them to go when they already feel hurt. My husband and in-laws think I'm unreasonable. Am I the a-hole? Well, I think it's very likely OP's stepdaughter doesn't even want them there. She flat out stated that she doesn't consider them family. I'm sure that's not what OP's husband wants to hear, but OP can't force a relationship. Let's see what the community says. Major Barnacle 2212 says, not the a-hole, but to be very clear, this isn't a judgment on your stepdaughter's decisions regarding her photos, but it's a judgment on your choice to stay home with your children. They should not have to be subjected to her overt display of her feelings to exclude them from her definition of family. No one should have to be subjected to that. The little ones have the right to make their decisions just as she does. JLNBTR says, not the a-hole. If you're not family, there's no reason for you to be there. Fire or Water Kai says, not the a-hole. Your stepdaughter doesn't see them as family and probably only tolerates them. I think keeping your distance is the way to go here. Don't teach your kids to tolerate these kinds of situations because of family. It's setting the wrong precedent. Your husband and in-laws need to come to grips with the reality of the situation. It's sad, but it is what it is. However, it seems like your younger kids' feelings are at the bottom of their priorities. That's something you need to take up with your husband.